33%. That is how much the probability of a man being gay increases with every older biological brother he has. It's not a social theory, it's hard. Statistical data confirmed over decades. The 24th week. This is the critical window of pregnancy when the fetal brain completes one of its most vital stages of development, setting the compass for attraction for the rest of life. 100%. That is the likelihood that your orientation is the result of a complex equation solved in your cells long before you were even born. We are used to thinking of attraction as magic or a result of upbringing. No, in 2026, science tells us a different story. It is neurobiology. Today we're stepping away from the noise of social debate to look inside the black box of the human body. We'll explore how maternal antibodies, specific hypothalamic nuclei, and epigenetic markers in our DNA create the unique code of who you are. Let's dive in. In 1991, neuroscientist Simon LeVay published a study that shook the scientific world. He focused on a tiny region of the brain called the hypothalamus, the ancient command center for our basic instincts. Inside, there are 4 groups of cells called the interstitial nuclei of the anterior hypothalamus, or INAH. Specifically, LeVay looked at INAH3. It was already known that in heterosexual men, this nucleus is typically 2 to 3 times larger than in women. But LeVay discovered something stunning. In gay men, the INAH3 nucleus was almost identical in size to that of women. It was small, dense, and wired differently. Critics asked, could the brain have changed over a lifetime? But subsequent studies on animals, specifically sheep, where about 8% of rams prefer other males, confirmed that this structure is set during the embryonic stage. This isn't software you can reinstall. It is hardware, the very architecture that determines which pheromones and visual cues your brain responds to. It is a biological response that cannot be faked or suppressed. But what causes the INA3 to grow or stay small? The answer lies in what scientists call the testosterone bath. In developmental biology, there are critical periods. For the brain, this window opens between the 8th and 24th weeks of pregnancy. During this time, a male fetus receives a massive signal from its developing testes, a surge of testosterone. This hormone literally rewires the brain. However, this process isn't just about the amount of hormone, it's about sensitivity. The receptors in the brain must catch that signal. If the brain receives less testosterone, or if the receptors are temporarily insensitive to it, the neural networks for attraction form along a more feminine-leaning pathway. For women, it's the opposite. If a female fetus is exposed to excess androgens, she is statistically more likely to grow up with a masculine-leaning orientation. This is direct evidence that our orientation is the result of a delicate hormonal calibration performed in the darkness of the womb. Perhaps the most mysterious discovery is the Fraternal Birth Order Effect. If a man has older biological brothers, his chances of being gay increase significantly with each one. Why? The answer lies in the mother's immune system. A male fetus produces specific proteins linked to the Y chromosome, like NLG-N4Y. These proteins are vital for how neurons connect in a boy's brain. But for the mother's body, these proteins are foreign agents. Her immune system views them as a threat and begins to produce antibodies. With each subsequent male pregnancy, these antibodies increase. They can cross the placental barrier and neutralize some of the proteins in the fetal brain. It doesn't harm the child's health, but it changes how the neural pathways for attraction are laid down. This is a biological memory of the mother's body. And crucially, this only works with biological brothers. Adopted brothers have no effect, which effectively debunked the social upbringing theories. At this point, you might be asking a logical question. If orientation is biological and doesn't directly lead to reproduction, why hasn't it disappeared through evolution? Why would nature keep these scripts in our DNA? Scientists call this the kin selection hypothesis, or more simply, the helper in the nest theory. Evolution isn't just about an individual surviving, it's about the survival of the family's genetic line. In our ancestral past, having family members who didn't have their own children was a huge strategic advantage. These individuals acted as extra providers and protectors for their siblings' children. By ensuring their nieces and nephews survived, they were effectively passing on the shared family genes, including the very same biological markers we've discussed today. Furthermore, some studies suggest that the same genetic factors that make a man gay might make his female relatives more fertile. It's a complex trade-off that nature uses to maintain balance. This tells us that orientation isn't a glitch in evolution. It is a sophisticated tool for the survival of the human species as a whole. If everything is predetermined, why do identical twins with the same DNA sometimes have different orientations? The answer is epigenetics. Think of DNA as a library of books. The genes are the recipes, but epigenetics is the chef who decides which recipes to cook and which to ignore. Molecular tags can turn genes on or off in response to microchanges in the womb. This means even with identical DNA, one twin can have a different hormonal response than the other. To conclude, sexual orientation is not a whim. It is a masterpiece of biological engineering, a chess game played by neurons, hormones, and antibodies. Nature loves diversity, and orientation is just one of the infinite colors in its palette. Understanding this biochemistry gives us empathy. When we realize that attraction is as deep as our eye color, we learn to respect the uniqueness of every human being. Thanks for watching. In our next video, we'll explore how pheromones control our choice of partners. Subscribe so you don't miss it.